Hi guys, it's me, Karen. Sorry I haven't been around lately. It's that time where I'm doing my, inventory swap out in 4 different shops. So it gets to be a lot. And I just have to dedicate the time to doing that. And sorry about that, guys. I know you understand. But yeah, I'm going to try and make this quick little video here because this was a special request. I wore this necklace in one of the recent videos. I want to say it might have been the shop talk video I did. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. And I wore this and somebody said, "Ooh, could you, make a video about how you attach that?" Which I have other videos of attaching charms. So it's basically the same way, but I did not originally make a video of this because I think I made this well before I started the YouTube channel. But it's cut and dry, and it'll be just like the other ones, the other videos. But isn't that a beautiful Labradorite? So anyway, thanks for the request. Luckily, I did have another charm like this. This was technically called a coral. It's what it's supposed to be. At first, I wasn't sure. I thought it was a branch, which you could use it as a branch, but it came packaged as a coral, right? And you can put it whatever orientation fits better. This particular charm is meant for like the double chain. You see the links over here. So that's how you'll have to do your necklace part. And I'm going to use another Labradorite, but this one's carved. And you have to figure out which is going to be, your favorite orientation of the stone. I like it this way. And again, you figure out what's going to work best because you got to remember to try and keep these holes, these loops, level. Don't be afraid to take your flush cutters and cut a little piece off if you need to, right, to make it lay correctly. And whatever will look best. Like if I do it this way, if I just lay it like this ends higher. So I would probably snip a little section off of this part here so that it's, horizontally level. So I'm using my favorite, I think it's 3/8 copper foil tape. And of course, my beloved silver gleam. Gosh, I waited a year to start using this stuff, guys, just so you know. Practice and make sure it's something you really like and you really want to do before you spend the money, because silver gleam is twice as expensive as any other lead-free solder. But it's worth it, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. And I've never had any problems with it. Occasionally, it will scald, but I found that all solders do that. If it gets overheated, it'll get like that little white, little textured area. But all you have to do, you guys, is take something metal and burnish it. And the next time I scald a piece, I'm going to take the time to stop and make another video before I kind of move on to show what you can do to fix that problem. And just burnish it. You can re-burnish your solder any time in the process. Even after it's all complete, you can burnish. In fact, if I ever, like this piece, you'll see how early on in my journey this was. I didn't even cut this out. I didn't even know how to do that yet. Because sometimes after you cut the backs out or even trim the front, that could be enough to lift the tape. So I always go back and I burnish after I tape. I cut the tape. Anytime it looks like it's lifting, I will go back and burnish. And it's not sandpaper, probably won't work on it. another metal object, or even like an agate burnisher, or the radial wheels, right, at a low grit, or you can do a progression, experiment with it. But yeah, you can get that white off. It's not a big problem. You just have to figure it out what works for you. Anyway, let me get this cleaned. Start with clean hands. Put the copper foil tape on. I will see if it needs to be trimmed anywhere. And I'm going to get the first layer of copper on, and I'll be back to do the attachment. Okay, now I've got just the first layer on. Got my tape on and, soldered it. And I figured out I want to go this way. It's the opposite direction of this one. This one was, oh no, it isn't. Or is it? Yes, it is. You can see by the difference. This one was this way. And so this way, this one I put this way. And I just cut this little tail off here with just my flush cutters. This kind of metal is super soft. It's not hard. And this is all I took off. You see that little tip? Because it was just enough. Let's see. I can pick that up now. It was just enough that it's going to set correctly. And I'm going to just start soldering these pieces on and then make sure that they're where I want them. And then I'll reinforce it. So I think I'm going to try it with this first. Maybe even use 2 of them. All right. And you're going to see probably this hand shaking because it happens when I try to do anything that's, specific. If I'm just fooling around, I'm pretty good. But when I start to get like specific, I don't know if partly it's because I get nervous or I'm anxious because I want to do a good job. So it's going to be something like that. And let me think about it. Should I do it laying down? That might be better. So let me have a look at this. What I'm going to do is take a Sharpie and mark where I want these ends to be. And I think I'll do it laying down and from the back. So let me think about this. And again, take your time. Figure out what's going to work best for you, what you're most comfortable with, what's most effective for you. Because just because I say that these work great for me, they may not work great for you, And in this particular situation, I think laying it down on my trusty washcloth may be better than doing it this way. I don't know. You have to try. So don't be in a rush to try and figure this stuff out. All the planning is crucial and will save you time in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out where I want this to lay. And I'll try it laying down. I may change my mind on that too, just like I changed my mind on using these, right? So just go with the flow. Now just pick up a little bit of solder to do the tack soldering, right? And because this is metal, you might have to leave it on there for a little bit longer than you think, because the metal has to get hot too. And it has to get to temperature to accept the solder. Right, and we'll be adding more, but let's just see if it's where I want it. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'm just going to reinforce it, across the top and on the back a little bit more. That's basically it, you guys. It's not really difficult. My hardest thing that I struggle with is the placement and getting them centered. right? And this isn't even really that hot because all I did was tack solder. Remember, tack soldering, you're just literally picking up a piece, putting it on and holding it long enough to allow it to melt, but it doesn't have a chance to get the stone hot, and metal cools real quickly rather. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. You can see the difference in the placement, which I like because this is a bigger stone. So yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna reinforce it a little bit. Probably use my little clips to do that. You can use your pliers, but this is my bad hand, so I tend to get shakes a lot. And if I'm having to hold the pliers closed and together and still, oy vey, it's a lot. Let me try and zoom in for you. You can see it's just on there by a dot on both sides is all. But this is where now it's on there good enough. It's not going to come off. We're just going to clean it up. And use just small amounts. You don't need a bunch. All right. Let me switch sides. Looks pretty good to me, though. Doesn't need a whole lot. Always make sure your tip is nice and shiny, right? Every time I put it down, almost I pick it up and clean it off. I'd rather it be too clean than not clean enough. And I don't use the wet sponges, and I don't use that salmonelliac block or whatever it's called. That's really hard on tips, boy. I just use the wire brush thingy, right? Just one of these. That's what's recommended for this iron anyway, and you will see in the description box below all the stuff that I use on a regular basis that doesn't typically change. And the only things that changes is, you know, if I'm working on a special project and adding a different charm, like I'll try to list this one, but I think these charms were from that bargain bead box monthly subscription. So you know, it's not like you can go on that site and order just those charms. I mean, you can go look, but this has been, I got these a couple years ago. So, but you can look, you know, just Google, say, ocean charms or something like that. Okay, that's on good enough. This is nice and level for the chain to be, you know, even. And now I'm just going to get set up and do some decorative dots. So I'll be back. And remember, gravity plays a big part in what your dots are going to do. And you may have to experiment with your temperature, because what works on mine won't necessarily work on yours unless you have the exact same. Even if you have the same soldering iron, who knows how differently models or dates when they were created, all that stuff matters. And the environment, if you live in a cold weather state and it's cold in the room you're working in, that's going to change everything too. So I can't give you specifics, but I consistently work at the setting of 360, but that is Celsius, and that equals out to about 690 Fahrenheit. So around 700. And I tell people you might have to adjust 20 to 30 degrees, you know, either way. Just experiment. That's what this is all about. Experimentation and having fun. The other thing I want to mention is don't use too much flux, right? This is what I'm working with. It looks empty, but it's not, because there's so much still trapped on the brush. And I mean, it's probably been a week since I've done any soldering. And this just, you know, evaporated, and I only use a little, like a quarter of a capful at a time. I don't like it dripping wet, because that's when you risk it seeping down under the tape and all that stuff. It all matters. It all matters. So you don't need a lot of flux. You might need to reapply it more frequently, but you're not going to have a saturated piece. That will make a big difference, guys. I promise you. Okay, let me zoom in here. We're going to play and try and do some dots. So because I want this at least on this side, I don't want it rolling to the back, I'm going to try and hold my piece up more horizontally and clean my tip every time. I'm going to pick up small amounts, and see how this is flat? I'm going to turn my iron, not even a quarter turn, really, just slightly to the edge to apply the dot. So let's see. I'm going to try and do different dots. So I don't know if this will work. Like, that's a nice little dot. That's a nice little dot. Oh, look at those cute little dots. See, you just have to play. I can't get it consistent. I wish. I wish I could. But I'm definitely getting better. And that's because I make so many videos, you guys. So I recommend that you just get junky gemstones, or cut your own china out, or whatever. Look how little those are. There's a tiny itty bitty one in there. I didn't really mean to do that. Looks like it's too much. You can bump it off, right? Just pick up a little bit. Now that's much bigger and it's flatter, but I'm going to leave it. The other thing is, if you get it, you know, like it wants to peak, that's when you put just a little bit. Remember, I don't have anything in my bowl. It's just the brush is barely wet. So you don't need much. And yes, this all takes practice. Takes practice just to pick little bits up. You know, the tendency is to pick up too much. Hey, I'm doing pretty good, guys. Look how little. I like it. Okay, I'm going to rotate my piece. I'm always trying to keep it at the orientation I want it. Right? Always thinking about gravity. And you'll figure this stuff out. Like, that looks like it's too much. But let's see. I'm going to put it up here. You know, and see, it's just barely touching it. If you want a bigger dot, pick up more solder. And then every now and again, like if you pause and that cools down and you go back to it and then start again, don't freak out if these balls come off like that did. You want to know why? Because this piece was cool. So I test these as I go. If everything's nice and up to temperature, that your balls won't fall off. That sounds funny. Oops, sorry guys. Oh my gosh. So if that happens, no. And test your pieces before you get to the end. Because you don't want it like all done and it's ready to go and you bang it or touch it and the balls start falling off and you're like, oh no. But the other thing is too, you can, even after a piece is patinaed, you can go back and resolder. Oh. I'm going to go ahead and test that again. This one may fall off again. Don't know. We'll see. No. And I mean, I am with my nails. Okay, so that little one did come off. Okay, let me turn this. And this really isn't hot to touch because I've been stopping and starting so much. All right, we're going to go across the top. Clean my tip. Pick up just a little solder. And sometimes your iron will have a tendency to cool off. Just give it a second. My whole thing was I'd get so impatient. And think something was wrong. And it really wasn't. It was me. And most of the time it is kind of user error if you have the right equipment and tools. If you don't, because that's one of the first things I ask people when they say, oh, this isn't working or that isn't working. I'm like, what iron do you have? What temperature are you working at? You know, all that stuff. It does matter. Okay, let me turn this piece again. All right, I'll be back. I'm going to show you guys. This is what I got. Now, I couldn't stay very consistent, right? Remember, I started with the real little ones, and it got bigger, but you pick your battles. Some of these are a little flat, so I'm not that consistent, but that's what makes it, you know, handmade. And before I move on, before I turn my iron on, I'm going to check all these dots, and you can, you know, really give it a good test. And see, see if any of them are going to come off. And they're on there good. So I'm confident with that. Now, I will point out, since there's been lots of discussion about this, do you see those white spots? I told you, next time this happens, I'm going to make a video just about that. So after I get done talking to you guys, I'm going to stop and make a short video about how to address this and then come back and finish the video for you guys. But do you see them? There's several spots around. I want you to watch closely. Let me see if I can even zoom in more. Let's see. Let's take this one. Do you see that right there? And I'm just going to take this metal burnishing tool and watch. It's like magic. It's gone. All right, let's take another one. About this spot here. Or do you want me to do a bigger one? I didn't get that very good. How about this area? Let me set it down so I can hold it right. Just burnish. That's what burnishing with silversmithing is. When they're burnishing the bezel wire, like over the stone, it's not only just turning the wire over, it's smoothing out the metal. Now you can see the spots I treated are not white and scalded anymore. The other thing you can do is your radial wheel. That would totally take it off. These radial wheels are way different than a sandpaper, because I had somebody, you know, when I said, well, sand it, they said, oh, the sandpaper. I'm like, yeah, well, don't use sandpaper. It's right? So all the spots are gone. And it's easy as that. Oh, and you guys, oh my God. I just undid everything I said I was going to do. I said I was going to stop. See how my brain gets so fried? Oh my God, you guys. I hope you're having a good laugh, because I could cry. Oh well. Like, it'll probably happen again. It happens on most pieces for me, and I just polish it off. It's no biggie. It's just, I mean, it's hot, and it tends to get scalded. So I'm going to wash this up and put the chain on, and we'll see. I don't think I'm going to put a patina on it. I think I'm going to leave it just how it is. Okay? So let me clean it up. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. Turned out perfect. Wow. I love it. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? So it's easy, guys. I know it's, you know, it doesn't seem easy, and it's certainly not easy in the beginning. And for sure, it's not easy if you don't have a decent soldering iron. Will make a world of difference to you. Trust me, I experimented with it. It took me an entire year and 7 different soldering irons before I found the Heiko, and that is my favorite. And I do have a tutorial for beginners about the struggle. Not proud of it, but it has helped a lot of people. And you know, you're going to have a different opinion. The only other iron that I would recommend is the Weller 100 watt, not the N, is it N1010? I tried that one too, and it was not good. So anyway, yeah, this is it. And I think it turned out great. So thanks for the suggestion. I'm sorry, I don't have your name off the top of my head, but I will give you credit for the recommendation for sure. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed this. Till next time. Bye, guys.